Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight is debate night, and with me is Mr. Benjamin Kofa Fyneah. Benfin, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Tonight, we're going to be discussing or debating the Weah Step Down campaign. There's a protest on December 30th, calling for President Weah to resign. We have invited Mr. Ben Finn, who does not support the protest, and we also invited the Youth Wing Secretary of the Coalition or the Council of Patriots, Mr. Fyneah and Massacre, and we are waiting for Fyneah to join. We are not too sure if he's going to be here, but in any case, we're going to have a debate tonight. Mr. Ben Finn is going to be going against the protest or the holding of the protest on December 30th. And we're going to have Fyneah and Massacre who's going to join us. For any reason, if Fyneah doesn't join, we're going to have a show tonight. If you are there, we will post the number shortly that you call in and you support the protest. Please feel free to join. We're going to be talking with Mr. Ben Finn. Ben, welcome again to Focus on Liberia. A little bit about yourself before we start.
Thank you, sir. I'm Benjamin Fyneah. I'm a patriotic Liberian. For me, I kind of feel sad right now. It is unfortunate that the other guest is not here yet, because what I wanted to use this program for tonight was to have a constructive dialogue, to discuss, because I think in Liberia, when we are discussing issues like this, people get very emotional. I just wanted us to be civil, to even disagree to agree, but to kind of discuss it in a way where our people, both on the internet and back home, can learn something and be appreciative. And also we can introduce a new kind of dialogue where we are not insulting each other, where we are not angry, but we can constructively engage each other. So I will hope and pray that the other guest shows up so we can have a lively debate. But in the case that he's not here, we can still continue. But I just wanted to emphasize that my intent here tonight, I'm not looking for winners or losers. I'm looking for constructive dialogue whereby we can even disagree to agree. But at the end of the day, all of us will be wishing or hoping or advocating for a better Liberia. And thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And Ben, let me guarantee there's going to be a lively discussion tonight wherein there is Mr. Massacre did not show up. We're still going to debate the issue, and I'm going to be playing that role very effectively. So let's begin by just saying to our viewers on the internet, we say welcome, share the video, invite a friend, and join the discussion. I'm going to be posting the number very quickly so that you can participate at the end. As Ben said, we at Focus on Liberia, we always go for civil exchange. Sometimes we look at debate has been, confrontational. No, they shouldn't be. And sometimes they even become an academic exercise. So you don't have to support the protest before you come on. If you have points, we did this in the classroom, you can still do that tonight. So we need people. We're going to be opening the lines very shortly. So let me begin by saying December 30th, there is a protest scheduled under the banner. The Weah Step Down campaign has been on for some time now. Ben, you are here. I want to hear your opening statement concerning the December 30th Step Down protest.
Well, the first thing, and that's what I wish the other guests would see, the first thing I wanted to stress was, in a democracy, under what we call a democratic dispensation, people have the right. Those are that is a constitutional guaranteed right to protest. So I don't want anyone to come out or to start this show with a mindset that I'm advocating that there should be a cancellation of this protest. But the basis of me being here is the COP's application for permit and the justice minister's response to that permit. But I want to emphasize, in a democracy, people have the right to protest. When people feel that their leaders are not paying enough attention to what their needs are or their aspirations are, they have the right to protest. But all of that should occur within the confines of the law. That's my opening statement.
Thank you, Ben. People have the right to protest, but that should be under the confines of the law. So in
Yes.
light of December 30th protest, what's your stand?
Well, I side with the state authorities in Liberia for a few reasons. You see, there is a concept called the structure of the state. When we talk about the structure of the state, we talk about the various appendages that make up what we call the state. Your law enforcement, your army, your bureaucracy, and even the people. One of the things I want us to set before we move on is that the COP, whatever their advocacy is, whatever they are, whatever they are demanding, I would want to assume that their intent is to operate within the confines of the law. Let me say why. Because I'm saying if, this is a big if the COP is successful in removing George Weah, if they are successful, they will have a responsibility to govern Liberia under the umbrella of law and order. So if you are out there saying, well, it is our right, it's our legal, right to do these things, you should also, in the same vein, respect whatever legal restriction is placed upon you. But let me say this also: if the COP apply for authorization to go on the street, and Attorney General comes out and give conditions and say, well, these and these and these and these are the conditions why we can't grant you this permit. Fair enough. I think it is incumbent upon the COP to say, well, let's seek a legal remedy. Let's seek a legal remedy, because what I'm trying to emphasize is that whatever we do, no matter whether you are pro or you are against, should be within the confines of the law. I want to say this: there will be some people who will say, well, there are flaws in the justice system. Fair enough, I will give you that. But that is what we have now. Let's take advantage of it. Because if you look at what the Attorney General said in his letter, I will just read the last line for you. He said, ultimately, may we warn that individuals in the leadership of COP will be held personally, individually, and collectively culpable and liable under the law for consequences associated with their action. That is,
Ben, before we go into the nitty-gritty of it and what the government says, the government position, I want you to tell me, in plain terms, if you support the right of the COP to protest on December 30th, calling for the president to step down.
I said it again, under a constitutional democracy.
Okay.
Under what we call a participatory democracy.
Right.
Individual, the constituents, the people, they have the right to protest. They have the right. And let me just emphasize this. This same COP we're talking about protested on June 7th.
Yeah.
The same COP was giving security. The same COP were even, some of their protesters were giving water. So this is not about something that has not happened before, or we don't know what is going on here. But at that time, the authorities felt that the COP met legal requirements that granted approval. So if this time there are some hiccups, if I was in the COP, I would say, well, the Justice Ministry said X, Y, Z. let's appeal his decision to him. If we cannot reach an agreement, then we appeal it in a court of law. Because you see, I will emphasize this as we go along, all of us, the COP, the GOL, the ordinary Liberians, we are all operating within the confines of the law.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the sticking point has been, you made mention of the previous protest, June 7. This time, the protest, as we learned, even though it was not contained in the letter, as we learned later, calling for the president to step down, that's the part that people are saying that's wrong. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I would say this: a call is a call. You know, a call is a call. You know, let's look at what happened in Liberia almost 2 years ago. George Fyneah won the election in Liberia with 61% of the votes. That is what in legal terms they would call a mandate, a majority.
Yeah.
So we are talking about a group that I would say is a minority. They are what I would call, I will use a legal term, they are like a negligible minority. So they have what you call in law, they have no legitimacy. They have no legitimacy.
Wait a minute. The freedom to express. The freedom to assemble.
To express is guaranteed. It's
right.
Guaranteed.
And you're saying, you know, the smaller the group makes them negligible?
Yes.
So in that case, so they're right, even though they have the right to go in the street and protest for the president to resign, you agree on that, except that the president had a mandate and now this group is very small. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Is that your saying?
Exactly what I'm saying, because democracy is a game or a system of numbers.
Yeah.
It's a system of numbers.
That's election.
Yes. No, that's the fulcrum. That's what everything rests on. Is numbers.
Yeah, but my right to speak, my right to protest is not contingent upon numbers.
No, that's what I told you. They have the right to protest. I don't know how many times I would say that they have that right.
Yeah,
but to see the president to resign, fair enough. They have no legitimacy to make that call because they are not the majority.
I get that. Okay, to call for the president to step down, they have no legitimacy because the number is small. But if they can mobilize enough to get a majority, that's fine.
Then they will get it. Yeah, because like I said, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It boils down to number. The concept of multi-party democracy boils down to numbers. He who has the most numbers wins. So what we are saying is we are looking at an event where 61% of Liberians say we want this man.
That was 2 years ago.
That represent less than 1% saying this guy should leave. I mean, you know, we have to be reasonable. So
right, no, I get.
But their theme, their cause that they're advocating has no legitimacy.
Is that but it's guaranteed under the Constitution for them to do that?
Guaranteed. It's guaranteed.
All right.
Yeah.
So now, but the government position on this is not because of their numbers.
No, the government cited legal reasons. I can give them to you. The government decided legal reasons. You see, you know, there is something I want to say, but I don't like to speak harshly. In Liberia, I think there is I don't know. There's a near total lack of appreciation for laws. You see, society, anywhere you go in the world, every society is governed by rules and regulations. Yeah. That's what they call laws.
Right.
Maybe they didn't know, but you know what they say here? In law, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse for justice.
Right, and there can be bad laws too.
That's I know that.
Yeah.
But this what happened. One of the articles, one of the grave item that Attorney
the Justice Ministry
said was They raised funds, they were mobilizing funds for people, from people that were not Liberians. You see, we have laws against that.
Right.
Like if you are raising funds to engage in political activities. So probably they didn't know that, but that was one of the things that
Right.
Justice Minister cited. And if I was a COP,
but
no,
Ben,
hold on, sir.
okay.
If I was a COP, I'll probably use my cash app or whatever to show information that no, we raised this money from John Brown or Paul Samuel there, and we can prove that these people are Liberians.
Right. No, what I'm saying is, if someone breaks the law, let's say here in America, we say campaign finance and where you should get money from donors and all that. What do you do? I don't think the recourse is to say don't protest. It's for them to face the law. If they broke the law by soliciting funds,
understand, but also that was just one reason, though. There were 4 reasons cited.
No, I mean using that as a way to stop people from protesting. I think government is missing the mark, because you should.
No. I don't want you to assume that people are being stopped from protesting. That would not be accurate, because the premise has been laid. This same organization has been granted permit to protest before.
Yes.
So there are criteria that were not met. That, like I said, if I was a COP, I would say, well, how can we regroup to see if we can readjust our strategy so that we can meet the conditions that were laid out in this letter? So it's not like I say, don't protest. It's like you can protest if you meet X, Y, Z conditions. Because I would say this, and let me emphasize again and again, every citizen of every constituted republic in the world have a right to assemble. They have the right to demand that their leaders, they have that right. I mean, those are constitutionally guaranteed provisions. But you see, in seeking the legal route, you will have to have permit from the state authorities. So now, the only thing left is for the COP to say, okay, we read this letter and it said X, Y, Z. We're going to adjust our strategies to meet up with X, Y, Z. That's all I'm saying.
But Ben, you know our history. You know how previous governments and even now, they have put bottlenecks in the way of people, genuine people that want to protest, sometimes even contest elections.
No, I would say no.
No. So
and I can tell you one thing.
Excuse me.
This administration, you had what they call bring back our
money.
You have people protested.
Right, but the difference here is they're calling for the president to step down. That's the sticky point.
No. The call shouldn't be the basis here. The call should be exercising their right to protest as citizens. That's what the call is, because I will emphasize and I will continue to say this. This organization was granted a permit to protest before. So there is what there is what the white man would call a precedent.
Yeah.
That this administration have respected these people before. Yeah. So it is not a denial to say you cannot protest. No, it is a denial to say this protest is not in conformity with X, Y, Z conditions. If the leadership of this group can say, no, we did everything right and we can prove X, Y, Z, then we don't know what it might lead to.
Thank you.
Two institutions are interacting. All that is left is for them to say, no, we are not doing what you say we are doing. And if they disagree, they can go to the courts.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the Weah step down protest on December 30th. Our guest, Mr. Ben Fyneah, is saying, yes, the people have the right to protest. They have the right to call for the government to resign, but they have to meet the conditions laid down by the government. With that, let me bring in my first caller. Caller, your name and where you're calling from. Hello, caller, your name and where you're calling from.
Is that the number ending 461?
Yeah, that's you. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for allowing me on your show. I am Zaza, and I'm calling from Rhode Island.
Your phone
I
name?
listen to you, and I listen to. Are you not hearing me?
What's your phone name?
Hello?
Hello, go
I'm
ahead.
Emmanuel Zarza.
Okay, Emmanuel, go ahead. Your question or comment?
Yeah, I want to give a little comment, then I will end with a question.
Be brief, please.
Okay, thank you. If you look at the second page of the respond of from the MOJ, they say it may interest you to know that the Honorable Supreme Court of Liberia has interpreted the above constitutional provision. One thing everybody that is discussing the thing did not address on my point is the question should be, when was this thing interpreted by the Supreme Court? What prompted the Supreme Court to interpret this very constitutional portion that says to petition your government or to ask the president to resign, you must do it through this means, because they gave the time, according to the Justice Ministry, they said, recently we cannot give you any permit because we heard that you are asking the president to resign. And the Supreme Court has interpreted this point in the past that if you don't like your government, if you don't like your president, you can go through the means. One thing that is not being discussed by everybody that is discussing the letter is, when was this interpreted by the Supreme Court? That's the first thing. The next thing is, if we endorse this step down and allow it to go on, tomorrow this board will tell the men to step down, bring their own leaders, and another group comes again and say, we don't want this person. And then are we going to grant that people as for them? When will we ever have election in our country? People just get in the street and that person will resign. That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, but before you go, are you saying, right?
No, I'll be here. I'm not going.
Yeah, let's say because somebody cheated in election, or because an election went wrong, so we should never have election?
No, that's not what I said. Let me clarify my question.
You are saying that if this protest, if people get in the street and protest that they are not satisfied with their government and the government having to leave, that would set the precedent that subsequent protests will be held. What's wrong with that?
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me clarify. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that if people will use protest to change a precedent, then there will be no need for election, because if I don't like Judge Weah and I jump in the street and tell him to go, if I don't go through the legislature and tell him to go, tomorrow you bring Elizana Kumi, another group get in the street and tell Elizana Kumi to go, you bring Benana Yu, another group get in the street and tell Benana Yu to go.
Yeah,
then
my
when are we ever going to have elections? But when are we ever going to go through the legislature to exercise their impeachment mandate?
All right. No, thank you. What I was telling you is that is as long as our Constitution guarantees it, right? Why can't we let it go ahead?
Yes.
Instead of saying, well, somebody else will do it. Well, if somebody else will follow the Constitution, what's wrong with it?
No, this is the point. I think I leave my premise from the beginning. In the letter, the Justice Ministry said the issue of the citizen exercising the right was interpreted. That is, there were set criteria what you can do to tell your president to leave, and that's what is just on the second page of that response. The second page.
Thank you.
They said the Supreme Court says we can do this through our legislature, or we can do it through the elections. Right. So they already set they gave us guidelines that we can go through. So you can protest, but you cannot ask your president to resign. That's what they are saying. They say you can protest against the government to change policy. You can protest against the government for any other reason, but you can't tell the president to step down because it's going to be a precedent for other people to do it in the future. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Ben,
so I support the protest if it's just to ask for the president to change things, but not for him to step down. I support any form of protest that is going to ask the government to behave right, to do things right, but not to ask the president to step down. That's my point.
Thank you. Ben, let me hear from you.
Yeah. Well, I want to say I partly agree with our guest, but let me say this. Let me see where I disagree with him first. Liberians, citizens of Liberia, the Constitution, I think the first page of our Constitution, the preamble, it says that all power is inherent within the people. So I want him to get this right. The COP or Liberians, not COP, they have that right to tell their president to resign. They have that right. They have it. But like I said, and I will continue to emphasize, everything that happens should be done under the umbrella of the law. Because number one, if the COP succeeds, it is safe for me to assume that they will govern Liberia under the umbrella of the law. So what is happening here, nobody is saying COP don't have the right to call for anything. The only thing is that there are set requirements that the COP has to meet. Then they will be granted a permit. I want to say this, a precedent has been set. The COP was granted a permit to protest before. So it's not that something that is new to us. Nobody's scared of nobody here. The problem is, before this permit is acquired, there are requirements that needs to be met. So I don't want somebody to say, well, the Constitution says how you can change the president. No, the citizens of Liberia, the people of Liberia, they have every power. They can get in the street tomorrow and say, well, your president should leave. They have that power. But there are procedures that has to be met before they get in the street, because the state has a responsibility to provide law and order.
Agree. Prior to this, Justice, because I wanted for us to discuss the actual protest first, but you agree they have the right to protest, they have the right to call. The only thing is what the Justice Ministry has said. So let me bring in my second caller, because we have a couple of them here. Caller, your name and where you calling from? 267 area code.
Okay, 267 area code. Yeah, my name is Charles Drew. I'm calling from Denver, Colorado.
Charles, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And to the speaker, thank you for everything you have said. A couple of things that I have on mind. These are some of the things you were touching on about the COP leadership, because there are a couple of things that need to be answered. Like as I read in most social networks, people are quoting our Constitution from one article, Article 1, whatever it is, that states that we the people have the right to, petition our government to resign and all that. Yeah. But remember, the Constitution is not just restricted to one article. The same Constitution has other parts that also say that the president can also be impeached, and it gives condition on reason president can be impeached, and if not, then the people can go and do whatever they can do. Now, if you're going ahead to protest for the president to step down, in many cases, there should be policy to be put in place, technocrats, or maybe leadership that will take over. Because in case when there's a vacuum, we already know that in many countries, the reason we have chaos and crisis is because of power vacuum. Yeah. So if there's a power vacuum, there's a possibility of instability. Right. So as our speaker has said, that this thing has to also be answered by the COP-led leadership. They should be able not only organizing protests, especially the one that they are talking about, for the president to step down. Remember, you have
Charles.
Anyway, so let me make it quick. So
no, before you
that's one of the concerns of me.
Before you end, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to tell a citizen to say, give me your blueprint of how you're going to succeed this man before you protest. Why would
No. I'm not asking. No. Listen, Mr. Moderator. I'm not asking the citizen. The citizen did not just get up to go and protest. There are people who are organizing the protest. Yeah. I'm saying they too should be ready to to step in whenever they are coming up with this idea, because by organizing people, they will follow you. But you
Thank
should be able to also answer the question of all these unanswered questions. But anyway, fast forward. The next point is that the guest touched on was when COP requested for a permit to be issued by the Justice Ministry. Now, to my belief, the Justice Ministry operates within the executive branch of our government. Remember, we have 3 different branches within our government.
Yeah.
Now, if the Justice Ministry, who are responsible on the executive side, refuses or denies the permit based on whatever criteria or reason that it gave, I think it's necessary for the COP leadership to go through the legal process, as our guest speaker has said. That means you go to the court system. If whatever court system could be, could A, or whatever it is, I have no idea within the judicial system, but I'm pretty sure somebody over there is responsible for such activity within our government. But one of the response I heard from one of the leadership of COP was when the Justice Ministry denied the permit, their response was he's bluffing. Now, if you use words like he's bluffing, you try to undermine both the executive branch of the government and both the judicial branch of the government. That means if the executive denies you, you're not going to the judiciary. No, it doesn't work that way, brother. So you can get speaker or whoever is clarify and tell me if I'm wrong, that if the Justice Ministry denied them, they have the right to go through our judicial system so that they can fight their case legally, so that if they actually serious to carry on their protest, which of course I'm not in favor because for which they are calling for, I don't think it's democratic. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben, you heard from from the caller.
Yeah. Well, to respond, what I want to do, let me use what I would call historical perspective. April 14, 1979. That is an ideal thing. I want people to listen to me intently.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Historical perspective. April 14, 1979. What happened that day literally destroyed the Liberian state. Let me tell you why. In governance, politics, there's something called continuity. That means government should be there, whether it's Republican Party today, Green Party tomorrow. The structure of the state is just like our bones that run through us.
Yeah.
That framework should be constant, because that's what we call, that is from where we get what they call order.
Yeah.
I want to say this. When you destroy the structure of the state, when you like destroy it within an instant, it takes generations to reestablish. That is if you are lucky. Now, April 14, 1979,
right.
The planners of that protest, I will be honest with you, they did not anticipate that the protest was going to turn out like that. They did not anticipate. You see, when you are planning these kind of activities, there is something.
Let me stop you, because there has been a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation surrounding that particular 79 protest. So I want you to be clear when you say what happened, destroyed the country. What exactly do you know happened?
Yes, you see the riot. The riot gave sufficient reasons. And that's what most Liberians don't understand, because what I'm telling you, I studied this as a science. The riot gave sufficient reason for an immediate removal of the government. The riot alone. What happened that day? Yes.
How?
Because I was trying to go through it. What happened was, there was this argument of minority suppressing majority. And you know, anywhere that that argument is preached.
That argument started 1822.
No, I understand.
Yeah. So
No,
I'm very impatient, you know, get to
I
the
will come
point.
to my point. You know, I will come to my point.
Yeah.
That argument, wherever it is preached,
Mhm.
it always ends up in chaos. Let me tell you this. One constant element of human society, this is a constant, is change. But the change should be incremental and it should be gradual. Because when you destroy the structure of the state, I'm telling you, my good brother, I know what I studied it as a science.
Yeah, but the historicity of this protest, let me tell you, is what you're not getting to. What happened? Tell me what happened and how that destroyed, because you made one statement that the
Yeah.
planners did not anticipate. It
Yes.
was,
Yes. There are what you call unforeseen events.
yeah.
You know, like you may plan to do something and what you did not plan, that's what may happen. That's why when you are going into this kind of activity, especially so these major activities, you have what is known as contingency.
Right.
If this thing happened, we'll do this. If this thing happened, we'll do this. But you see, what happens is when you don't plan and you don't negotiate with the existing authority, because one of the best ways to bring about change in any society is what they call a negotiated settlement.
But Ben, because I know about 79 so well, I want you to get to the point, because the government and the people, they met, right? This was about rights and rights, right?
No, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. You see, that is a lie.
You didn't
It
read
wasn't about that.
you didn't read the exchange between Turbot and President Turbot and the pal through Bacchus Matthew?
That's what I'm telling you. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about that.
Okay.
It
I don't
wasn't.
want for us to dwell on it, but because it was the government that responded, okay, at a time the people were gathering. So government responded, you know, disproportionately and killed people. So I don't know what it's.
You see that brings us back to what is happening right now. The government too has a responsibility to maintain law and order. And
There was
you
no
just said
lawlessness until the government responded. This is history.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You just said something on this show that sometimes the law can be wrong. Sometimes the government can be wrong. But you see, the government action was instigated by the action of Pal and Moja.
No, I disagree.
No, listen now. Okay, I will just ask you this. If nobody came into the street that day, would they have responded?
Irrelevant, because people should
I'm just
their right.
No, I'm just asking you, my brother. If nobody came to the street that day, would they have responded like that?
It's like if people didn't live in Liberia, would that happen? I mean, that's why I said it's irrelevant.
No. What I'm telling you is
the right to protest is guaranteed under the Constitution.
I understand that, but you see, I'm trying to draw. You see, what I'm trying to draw here is when you root up the structure of the state, when you destroy them, it takes generations to reestablish.
I agree.
What happened that day? It gave sufficient reasons to almost an immediate removal of that authority. That's why you see when the coup happened, everybody was jumping in the street.
Anyway,
that's why when the coup happened, that's why there was this overwhelming response and welcome.
Let's leave it at that, because I don't want us to go into it, because you are not giving me the meat of what. So let's go to this protest, because we don't want to justify government strong-handedness because people riot, people demonstrated.
No.
You don't want to do that.
No. I don't know if you understand the concept I'm telling you, my brother. I'm simply trying to tell you here that two wrongs don't make a right. That's what I'm telling you.
I get that.
I'm telling you, two wrongs don't make it right. It was wrong. Now, hold on.
No, continue with that. What was wrong? It was wrong to protest?
I want to say this. You see, when we are protesting, government, the state authorities, sometimes they feel a sense of threat to their power. You see, that's what you have to consider. They feel a source of threat. They have that sense of threat.
Okay.
So when you are protesting, your action initiates something within the other party that you have to also understand. Because they too, they will be prepared to say, oh, no. We have to exercise authority. We have to make sure that we bring this thing under control. And in doing that, they could engage in wrong acts. That's what I'm telling you. Two wrongs don't make a right, because what happened, it will lead to a conflagration. So somebody have to say, no. Let's do it another way. Let's do it another way. Because your intent to protest, I will tell you this, it threatens the authority of the state. You should know that.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it does.
Okay.
So they might.
I don't agree, but let's move on. I don't want us to dwell on 79 because I'm always excited to talk about those things of the past, because they've always been misrepresented, misconstrued, and misunderstood. But let me bring in one caller, Pape Flomo.
Yeah, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you? I put your name on the number, so I recognize it. Go ahead.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for having me, and hi to your studio guests. Now, the First Amendment, our First Amendment, guarantees everyone to protest. It gave us the right to petition our government.
Yep.
And when you look at the definition of petition, it's a written statement requesting the government. Is a written statement of request, typically signed by many people, appealing. The key word is appealing to authority with respect to a particular issue or a particular cause or something. So it's appealing, and then it's asking. The First Amendment does not give us the right to force the government or force the president to resign. It asks us to petition our government, to ask them to do something. Now,
Right.
even whether we are forcing the government,
No,
whether we are petitioning the government, it does not matter. The First Amendment gives us the right to petition them to go in the street, to assemble, to get together, to assemble. It gives us all the right.
Right.
So
Pape Flomo,
whether they are asking George Weah to,
when they say petition,
hello?
petition what? What does that petition mean? What does it contain?
Now, petition, it's just a written statement appealing to the authorities with regards to a particular issue to do a certain thing. It's just appealing to them.
And
petition
that,
does not give
and
you...
that certain may be to step down?
It includes that.
Okay,
It
go
includes
ahead.
that.
Sure.
It includes that. Petition can also include the president must resign.
Yeah, all right.
It includes that 100%.
Great.
But the part I'm talking about, petition is a request. It's not forced. The COP they are saying,
hold on, Pape
the COP they
Flomo.
are saying,
Hold on. Let Ben want to chime in before you continue. Go ahead, Ben.
Yes, you see,
sure.
There is something good that you're saying that I want to just emphasize. You said the Constitution guarantees the right to protest. I agree with that. But you see, before that event occurs, you see, I think people are missing what's happening here. There is not an attempt to curtail this protest. There's not an attempt to stop this protest. For you to get a permit, it's just like here when you go for a driver's license. Certain conditions should be met before they give you the driver's license.
Yeah, and we'll examine those conditions.
And that's what I'm saying. What is happening here? The attorney of the state responded with a letter that cited certain points. The COP only can say, okay, let's see how we can readjust our strategy so that we can meet those requirements. Because I want this to be acknowledged. The COP was granted permission to protest before.
Ben, let me read part of this letter that you are emphasizing tonight.
Go ahead.
Your mobilization and resources both within and without Liberia, maybe within and outside, like without Liberia, to execute your Weah Step Down campaign is unconstitutional.
That's one.
Speaks treason.
That's one.
An offense against the internal security of the state. You agree?
Okay. Can I come here now?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I'll even get to that point. So like I said earlier, a petition is just a request. You are appealing. You can say we should take out his clothes and even give it to you. You can say we should go and enter his bank account and even give it to you. You can even say I'm appealing to you, or I'm requesting you for me to assassinate your whole family. You can say that it's freedom of speech. You can say that that can be your petition, including you must step down. That's appealing. So the Constitution in Article 1 guarantees everyone that right to speak what they want to say. You can say anything you want to say. It's left with the government or the president to adhere to what you're saying or what you're asking. The president can say, you know what, I was elected by majority of the people in this country. I'm not stepping down. Now, this is where the COP will go wrong. When they insist, like Costa said, when they insist and stay in the street for days, requested or forced, well, this now is not request. When they insist on the president stepping down, that is when it is treasonous. Because if you look at the definition of treason, it's an attempt to overthrow the government. It's not an attempt to assassinate the president. It's an attempt to overthrow the government. So when you stay in the street for that prolonged period of time, the government is under the obligation to protect the movement and also to protect the rights of other people. You can't block the streets. You can't stop pupils from going to school. You can't stop people from going to work. You can't stop people from going to their religious buildings and serve their God. You can't do that. So when you stay a prolonged period of time in the street, it means that now you are forcing the government.
Pape Flomo, what makes you think that staying in the street or staying wherever for a prolonged period of time is going to stop the movement of people? You are assuming. Well, it's not an assumption. We saw it on June 7th. If you have 5, 10, 15,000 people in the street, it is obvious that it is going to obstruct movement of people. It's going to obstruct commerce. It's going to obstruct children going to school. People are not going to send their children to school. It's going to bring the whole country to a halt. So, for example, my brother, if we are like 3 or 4 people in the street holding placards, that's different. They can stand by the roadside and say, George Weah, you must resign, you must resign, you must go. They can stay in the street for 100 days. It's not going to have effect on other people. But when you have 10, 15, 20, 50,000 people in the street, and then it's going to obstruct commerce, it's going to obstruct the movement of other people, the government has the responsibility to force you out of the street. And that's what I'm trying to say. The thing is for these guys to ask, and you know what? And let me tell you this. That is why what's his name? The acting chairman, what is his name? Mo Ali.
The acting chairman of the COP. Mo Ali. That is why Mo Ali was very crafty in writing that letter. He did not include in that letter what Costa has been saying, that will force the president to go. Because Mo Ali knows that when you say you will stay in the street to force the president to go, it's going to obstruct the movement of other people. It's going to infringe on other people's rights. And that is why I'm saying they can say they want to protest. They can say anything they want to say. They can even tell George Weah, remove your clothes so that I can take it home and I'll take out my property. They can say anything. It's their right to do that.
Thank you.
But when you go in the street and try so hard to stay in the street to insist, then that is when it is becoming treasonous. And that's why the Justice Minister was very clear. He said you're insistent. So let me just conclude, my brother, and now just leave. Now this is my conclusion of this whole protesting. This whole thing is a smokescreen. It's a charade. These guys are only doing it for their personal greed and self-aggrandizement. There will be no protest, or even if there's a protest, it will be like the July 31st protest, where there was a scattered people in the street, and after a few hours they went home. This protest will never ever be significant. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Ben, I don't think you agree with the letter from the Justice Ministry 100%.
Well, I would say this. I will be careful not to allow you to speak for me. What I'm saying is that
because what you have said contradicted what they say here.
No.
They are
I have an opinion, and I'm not the authority. I have my opinion. You know, the authorities speak in conformity with the law. I have my opinion.
Right.
What I'm saying is the Constitution gave people provision, to protest.
Right.
But in conducting that protest, you need a permit from the government. Now the government is saying, okay, you want to protest, fair enough, but you didn't meet X, Y, Z conditions. That's what I said, but let the COP go and readjust.
No, I agree. Let me read this from the protest. The government is saying there is no provision for Weah step down campaign in the Constitution and or statutory laws of Liberia. Do you agree?
Okay. Then if I was the COP, I don't want to be their unofficial lawyer. They can come and say, okay, we are now changing the theme of our protest to Better Liberia Protest. It's an easy requirement to meet.
Right. No, why I'm pushing you on this, you earlier stated that it is their right to call for the government to, so you disagree with this, with the premise they set here?
No. I didn't disagree. What I'm saying is the justice minister is speaking in the conformity with laws.
No, but you disagree with what he said. Your opinion is
no.
Your opinion is no. Your opinion is they have the right. Justice minister is saying they don't have the right.
I am not the justice minister, because he is, to a large extent, he's speaking within the conformity of the law.
But he can be wrong.
What the Constitution guarantees people.
I mean, we all know you are saying the Constitution guarantees this. Justice minister is saying, no, you don't have that right. In fact, if you do that, that's treason.
No, but sir, if the justice minister cited those 4 things, why can't the COP say, but let's make adjustments?
I don't want to, you're talking about COP. I want to hear your opinion on this thing. I don't want you to talk about what the COP should or shouldn't do. I want to hear your opinion.
My opinion is both parties should come to a resolution. There should be a midway. That's my opinion. Because I will say this and I will say this again, the COP has protested before. The precedent has been set.
No, but the COP has never called for Weah to step down. So this is the sticky point.
That's what I'm telling you. So maybe in the interpretation of the law as per the justice minister, that phrase is wrong. So, okay, guys, let's see how we can adjust that phrase so it can be in conformity with what
your opinion, if you believe that this is their right to do this, and justice ministry is saying no, why are you throwing up your hands and say, well, justice ministry is law and gospel, so let me just...
No. Because number one, I am not the justice minister. I'm not.
You are not, but you have an opinion. And you can tell me because justice minister say it, so it's from the Bible. Come on, Ben. We can agree with these people if we know they are wrong. Are you saying they're wrong and you want to agree because he's the justice minister?
No, all I'm saying is, in his response, he set some requirements. Like I told the young man who was on the phone, if you go to get a driver's license, you need to fill X, Y, Z requirement to get that, to be granted that license. It's just common sense.
No, but those requirements should pass the litmus test. If you agree that the Constitution say I have the right to get in the street and call for the president to step down, and then justice minister is saying something else, it means they are creating unnecessary bottlenecks to prevent people from getting in the streets.
No, just when that young man was on the phone, that's what I wanted to stress. It says to petition.
Yeah.
That means I'm going to give you something. They have the right to petition, right? But before I go and give that petition, I must be operating within the confines of the law.
There's no dispute. We agree. Yeah, protests are not open-ended. You can't say, protests must be guided, must be under the confines of the law. What I am saying, what you have said earlier is this particular protest is within the confines of the law because
no, I didn't say that.
To protest.
I said they have the right to protest.
Yeah.
But within that process, they need a permit. They have the right.
Right. But you can create bogus conditions because you are in power.
No. You cannot call it that. Because
no, I'm not calling it that. I'm just saying that's a hypothetical.
I know, because if you call it that, it will be unfair to what we know to be true. I will keep emphasizing this. This group has protested before. It's not the first time.
But that's not a guarantee that because you protested before, so because this guy allowed me before, so anytime he doesn't allow me, it means he's right.
No, we had to bring back our billions. The protesters before.
Okay. Ben, let me bring you one more caller. This one from 713 area code. Call out your name and where you calling from.
Yeah. This is Aliyu Kamara. You talking to me, Dennis?
Yes, Aliyu. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank God I finally made it. I've been on here forever. But how you doing today, Dennis?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. How are you, Ben? Hello.
Well, I've never been better.
Thanks for the good exposés. Let me first of all say thank you for the show, for bringing things like this to all of us. I want to give a special thanks to Councillor Musa Dean for being such a profound lawyer. I think Judge needs a lot of people in his government like Councillor Musa Dean. Most people are not understanding the point from which he's coming, and therefore he is bearing a lot of criticism from both the government, the CDC, and the opposition. What he is trying to do is to create a refined environment where everybody can see their rights within the Constitution. Now, do I support the protest? Hell no. Let us understand the whole thing about the right to protest. Because of our situation, the war, and sometimes our educational level, the level of our educational sector, these things have some sort of impact on the level of education we acquire, a lot of us. Therefore, we depend on people like Henry Costa, who himself is struggling to learn. We depend on people like Henry Costa to make decisions for us. Yeah. And it pretty much is affecting the entire fabric of our existence.
Aliyu,
how can we build a sector to actually make Liberians more independent in terms of decision making? But let me stick to the topic.
Right.
The protest, what we're calling protest here, it's actually demonstration. And demonstration is a violation. It's against the law. When you put 50,000 people in a place like Monrovia, a city like Monrovia, that is not 25 square miles, of course, you are causing economic hazard. And that is demonstration. Now, protest. A protest, like you said, Dennis, must be guided. Protest can be restricted by the authority there be.
Yeah.
And knowing the mentality of Liberians, they don't want to be restricted because they think by being restricted is also an infringement upon their rights. But the laws have to guide you. Like here, let's use Washington, New York or Washington, D.C. for an example, Dennis. When we go over there to protest, we don't walk in the middle of the streets.
Right.
There are places allocated for us to stand up, put up our banners, put up our symbols, and somebody will come and talk to us, take the petition, and walk back in to deliver to the authority it may concern.
Aliyu, this is not what the Justice Ministry is saying, though. The Justice Ministry is saying they don't have the right to call for the president to step down. Do you agree?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly, they do not have the right. The general public of Liberia do not have the right to ask the president to step down. There are few ways. Where?
No, I mean, they say you have the right to petition your government. You are telling me the Constitution did not say what we should write in that petition, did it?
The Constitution does not say what we should write in the Constitution, but it has to be in an era of reason. You can't write something that is impossible. You can petition it. You can write in your petition and ask the government to push the ocean behind. Is it possible to push the ocean all the way behind?
If it is impossible, it's not going to happen, but it doesn't mean you can say it. Why do you tell me that it's unconstitutional for me to say because it's impossible? You don't have that right.
Let me tell you why it's unconstitutional.
Okay.
It's not unconstitutional because they said it, because they spoke their mind. It is unconstitutional because they plan to act upon it. Listen, the Constitution provides that we go to the Capitol building, we say that read our entire statement, and give our petition to the lawmakers.
Okay.
The lawmakers, in return, goes in section, discuss the issue, and see if it warrants any special attention. If it does, they go through the numerical process, like the guest rightly said, the number issue. If the people in the House of Representatives majority decide that the petition makes sense and they will follow what the people have said, then they will file an impeachment proceeding. That is the process. There is no way around that. So by planning a mock protest, that alone in itself tells something about how diabolical the intent is.
Oh, no.
A spontaneous protest makes some sense to me, even though sometimes it can be an anarchy. Makes some sense to me, Dennis. But a protest planned 8 months ahead of time and making all of this publicity, the whole thing here, like Pape Flomo, nobody don't agree with Pape Flomo, but Pape Flomo said the thing is a charade. I want to agree. Henry Costa is a gamer.
Oh, stop.
Henry Costa is a fraudster. Okay? This whole thing is about personal aggrandizement. Okay. And the Liberian people must understand that if you sit down there, look, let me tell you something. Our fear. Let's just forget about the legal connotation of this thing.
Just conclude so we can bring in more colors.
Okay. We saw the wall. I was in Liberia in 1979. Saw it. 1979, that's a whole different topic. Yeah. We have to look at the intent behind 1979, Backup Mafia and others. If you have a bunch of young radical people whose sole desire is to take authority, they can use any nomenclature to get their aim accomplished. And that's what happened in 1979. 1979 was a mistake.
Don't worry.
Okay. All right. So we move on to this whole thing. We saw all of the war. It started with this same protest. It started with us diasporians. A guy steals almost $1 million and had the audacity to still go back and launch war against the people he stole the money from. Okay? And Henry Costa is a corrupt individual who has been involved in multiple corruption scandals with the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. Henry Costa was a member of the CDC. He collected money from George Weah on numerous occasions. When he couldn't get what he wanted, he broke apart from George Weah. This is the Henry Costa who tried to run for a seat of representative. When the Liberian people rejected him at the time, he insulted the people and said he wasn't working for them. He was working to feed his family. His interest was first. How now does Henry Costa become your hero? Liberian people need to think for themselves. The protest will be illegal because Henry Costa will now walk on the sidewalk with his people. Henry Costa and his people are going to walk in the middle of the street. And if taxi drivers cannot drive other people to where they want to go, if the ambulances cannot go to the various hospitals and drop people off because somebody is in the streets of Monrovia, I believe it is unconstitutional, and it is unconstitutional. Some people have to go behind bars, and Henry Costa will be one of those people to be behind bars. I'll conclude with that for now.
Thank you. Mr. Fyneah.
Yes, sir.
You heard the caller. He even went to 79 and he talked about Costa and all that, but I don't want us to deal with maybe who's involved. Let's discuss specifically the protest and the right to protest. Now you have introduced this element of what the Justice Minister say, which you have acquiesced, unfortunately.
Well, you know, I mean, just like I said, I will continue to make this example. You know, for me to get a driver's license in my state, I must meet certain requirements. The protesters have their right. Like I said, I will emphasize this, those are constitutional guarantees. But the determination, the final arbiter here, the final authority here is with the Justice Ministry. And the Justice Ministry is saying you have to meet X, Y, Z conditions.
Okay.
So if the COP can adjust their strategy to meet those conditions, fair enough. If they say the Justice Ministry is wrong, fair enough, they can take advantage of the court system. That's what I'm saying. And I'm just saying that this is just fair.
Okay, that's fair. Kalifala O Trawale say, why seditions always turn protest as war? Are you a sedition in the first place?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But you see, yes, sir. To say that would be a wrong, a wrong image somebody's trying to conjure up. The CDC protested during her time in opposition. And I will say this, and I'll repeat saying this. During the CDC's administration, there have been several protests that had been granted police protection. There have been protests. So I don't know where all this is. It's almost like fabrications, because this is not what people are making it out to be. They're saying you have to meet X, Y, Z conditions. Adjust your strategy to meet those conditions and get the permit.
Okay. The same people are also saying that CDC did exactly this, call for President Salif to step down. What's different now?
Yeah, but you should also see what they say. Look at that letter. The letter stated that, because they have rights too. They can say, well, we ignore the authorities, we do what we want to do. But the authorities just give them in law, they call it caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware that if you go in the streets and anything wrong happens, you will be held accountable.
Yeah.
That's what it says. So, they're not tying anybody here. You're telling them all the criteria. So if you can't meet it, you want to go in the street, still go in the street. But if something happens, you will be legally held responsible. And
no, that's not all they said. They said more than that. They say you going in the street is unconstitutional because you shouldn't be calling for the president to step down.
No.
That's their beginning statement.
You see, there's a charge there. Treason. Like I said, the Justice Minister response is a good test case for the COP adherence to the rule of law. The COP can take them to court. They say, well, we sought authorization to protest, and the Justice Minister replied as such, is it within the confines of the laws of Liberia? Let the judge say yes or no. Then we know what the laws are.
That's fair.
This is so easy, but I don't know why people are making this so complex.
No, Ben, it's not as easy. It's complex. The Justice Minister made it complex.
No, but if you said that and you disagree, that the two things, you will write in, giving pieces of evidence regarding why you are right. If you cannot resolve it, then you take it to the court of law.
Okay.
You see, the law is above everybody. Take it to the courts.
Sure. Let me bring in another caller, 346, area code. Your name and where you calling from? Hello, caller, 346 area code.
Hello.
Yeah.
You mean 346?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is Kevin Dubber, and I'm calling from Texas.
You say Kevin Dubber?
Kesely Dubber, and I'm calling from Texas.
Oh, Kesely, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. And I'm sure you have your constitution when you write that in studio.
Yes, I have it. This is the
because when we are discussing some of these things, sometimes it is good that as a guest, it's good to put aside your love or your, I don't know how to describe it, and speak like you have so many people listening to you. With no disrespect to your guest, but he's contradicted himself on so many occasions. The guests agree that it is the right of the people to protest.
that which is stated in the Constitution.
Okay.
He also agreed that it is the right of the people to call on the government to step down. But what he refused to agree on is that the quantity of questions calling on the government to step down. And the Constitution, which clearly states that every Liberian, it did not say one, it did not say 1,000, it did not say million, it said every Liberian is equal under the law according to the Constitution.
Okay.
So as much as 1 million people or 3 million people can call the government to step down, I can have my right as an individual, I alone can do the same thing that 3 million people can do.
You and your girlfriend can go.
Right? I want him to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Please don't go.
So the number in question does not matter.
All right.
The number in question doesn't matter.
Thank you.
No, I want you to stay.
Okay. And then we also talk about.
Just hold the line. There's somebody who is calling from overseas. I don't want to burn their minutes too much. So just hold the line. Let me.
Okay.
Muted.
Just
no,
wait. Let me bring
no problem.
Let me bring in your caller from overseas. Overseas caller, your name and where.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead. Your name and where you calling from.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
I don't think the show is getting you. I'm the only one hearing on this.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think they said I was unmuted, but I don't know why they can still hear me.
No, I'm getting you. Go
I
ahead.
can't hear anyone from there as well.
Go ahead. I'm hearing you. Caller, go ahead. I'm hearing you.
What's going on here? Hello?
Go ahead. Caller, go ahead. I'm hearing you. You are calling from overseas.
Hello? Okay, look, I just want to say something quickly. I'm calling from Australia, and my name is George Weah. And I have few things I want to say. However, I will limit myself to just one. I read explicitly the communication from the Justice Minister. And here's what I gathered from the Justice Minister's letter. He said, and I quote, the provision of the Constitution that gives the citizen the right to alter their government was interpreted by the Supreme Court. That provision was interpreted by the Supreme Court as meaning that would happen at elections. It wouldn't happen at any other time that anyone would just wake up and say, the government I was being voted for can now leave. The provision and the only body that is responsible for interpreting the Constitution is the Supreme Court. And once the Supreme Court comes out and say, look, you read this, but what we understand this to be is that you can only alter this government at elections.
Supreme Court is the last.
For me,
It's not the only thing that interpret. It's the last.
Nobody should wake up in the morning, wave their hands, and say, look, I want the government out. And they should be given credence because the Constitution does not give anyone the right to do so, as interpreted by the Honorable Supreme Court. And it's been mentioned in this letter that was written by Minister Musa Dean. So I don't know why people are still trying to argue. I think what we need to be arguing now is whether it is true that the Supreme Court are really giving this ruling. And I don't think the Honorable Minister will lie in his letter to lie on the Supreme Court. And even if he had done, by this time the Supreme Court will come back to him and tell him, no, we did not say that, but I'm sure it has already been interpreted. So I don't think there's any reason why we should still be arguing about the rights of people to alter their government. The Constitution says only at elections. I think people should wait until 2023 for the election to be held.
Thank you. Ben, do you agree?
Yeah,
That was
okay.
my point. And thank you. I don't know. I'm not hearing anyone, but yeah, that's where I am. Thank
Let
you.
me come in here. You see, I will just say first thing to the first guest who we have on hold. He said I made reference to the quantity of persons. You see, I don't think he got the he was here from the start of this program, because one of the things that I emphasized was democracy is a game of numbers. And when I mentioned the COP and talk about numbers, I was talking about legitimacy as compared to the majority which the CDC won the election. I don't think he got that. Not having legitimacy based on their numbers does not take away their right to protest. I don't know, I'm speaking here in legal jargons. I want people to understand. If you don't understand, you can ask me. I will say this and I will say this again. There are constitutional guarantees for people to protest. Those are constitutional guarantees. But to protest, you need a permit from the authorities. The authorities can grant you a permit, or based on law, they can deny you. And in this instance, since this thing appears as a denial, what can the COP take advantage of the court system?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. This thing is, you're making it harder than it actually is.
All right, Ben, let's now examine, and the caller is still there. Let's now examine the conditions laid down by the Justice Ministry, because and I want a yes or no answer, because you are relying heavily on what the Justice Ministry said, and
No,
why
I'm not.
and what you think the COP reaction should be to that. You have stressed that so many times.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if the Justice Ministry laid out these conditions,
right,
let the COP do. I mean, they can do two things. They can reply him,
right,
stating their side of how
I get that point.
or they can take him to court.
Right.
They can take him to court.
So let's for a minute throw away the COP, pretend that there's no COP, and let's examine the Justice Ministry's letter line by line, and tell me your opinion. The premise there is, look, when at the articles that is saying you have the right to protest and petition your government, change your government, applies only to election. Do you agree? That's the first premise.
Okay. Let me say this. Because, when we're discussing this thing, we use what they call precedents. In America here, Trump has passed a few executive orders that have been struck down by the courts. It's struck down. They say, no, what you're doing is illegal. So, I mean, I will say this. Let me just say this. Let's assume that the Justice Minister's interpretation is wrong. Who can give the COP remedy? It's the court. So I don't understand why.
I get that point. I just want to hear from you.
That's what I'm saying. No, the Justice Minister is interpreting this law based on his understanding of the laws of Liberia. Chances are he could be wrong. Chances are he could be right. So the only way
you are not prepared to scrutinize the Justice Minister's letter.
I will say this. I'm not as competent a lawyer as the Justice Minister, so I will err on the side of caution.
Okay. That's fair. You don't want to go there because the Justice Minister has said it. When I was on the mission, we used to sing this song. Jesus said it, I believe it, he cannot lie. So it looks like that's the kind of song you're singing. If Jesus said it, I believe it. His words cannot lie. These are written in the Bible. I believe it till I die. That's exactly what you're saying. The Justice Minister said it, he knows better than I do. I concur.
No, I didn't say I concur. I said if the COP disagrees, they can go to court. That's what I said.
All right. The one we put on hold, he's back. He's still on. So just conclude so we can move on to other colors. Column 346. Go ahead and your point. All right. Ben, when Henry Costa, there have been some responses. Let's look at those different responses to the letter. First of all, Henry Costa, who is the leader of the COP, said they don't need permit. All they need is security. They don't have to get permit from the government. All they need is, hey, we are doing this. Please come and protect us, because that's your responsibility under the Constitution to protect us. What's your view on that?
Well, that's why you see the last line of the letter. It's an acknowledgement of that. That is, you made a request and there has been a denial. If you don't need a permit, fair enough. You get in the street. If anything happens, you will be held legally responsible. That's what the last line of the letter addressed. So you cannot stop people from assembling. That's, like I said, that's constitutional guarantees.
Right.
But you see, you apply for authorization because you need a state to give you protection. Because while you are in the conduct of your activities, other people will be going about their normal businesses. And it is set up in a way where your activities don't hinder other people from their normal day life. That's why the state gave you all those, and they will tell you where to march, where to assemble, and they will give you details. I mean, so that you guys can be safe. So if you say you don't need it, fair enough. If you go in the street, anything that happens, you will be held accountable. So you can see that. So you can see that what he's saying, you go in the street, fair enough. Go in the street, fair enough.
No, they say we don't want permit, we just want your protection.
Yeah.
Is Costa right?
Well, I would say this. He is making a request, which I acknowledge, and the Justice Minister has replied. He can then reply again to the Justice Minister or go to court if he feels that the Justice Minister is wrong. I mean, this is a simple case.
But do you think he's wrong?
Huh?
Do you think the Justice Minister is wrong?
Well, I will say again, the Justice Minister is more competent a lawyer than I am.
Okay. So if I bring one lawyer, there's a lawyer here, Attorney Kukunyo Wulete. He wrote like 5 pages entitled Understanding the Constitution and the Right to Protest, Restriction and Standing. If I read his opinion on what he said, will you agree because he's more competent than you do?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. I don't want to go there. I want to go to other people. What I don't know if you had a chance to read what former VP Boakai had written concerning the protest.
No, I've not.
Yeah, basically what he said was the COP, the people have the right to protest, and government too has the right to protect them. And then he went on and listed an array of issues that, in my view, that he's saying warrant a protest. He did not say it directly, but I'm interpreting it that way. So do you, in your mind, you know, does the COP, all these issues that they are stating has harsh economic conditions and all their demands, do you think they have a point here to protest?
Well, you know, my good friend, I will say this. You know, concepts, ideology, and views, sometimes they are held by individuals or they are held by groups. You see, people have the right to believe anything they want to believe.
Yeah.
And I will say this again, they have the right to protest, but they only need that permit. Just like you, my brother, before you sit in your own car, you need for your state to certify you as a driver by way of giving you a driver's license. Before you get that license, there are requirements you met before you get that license. I don't know how hard this thing is.
No, the one that makes it hard is those requirements that you're talking about should be fair, they should be just, they should be legal, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you think it is illegal, you go to court. The court is the final arbiter. That's what I'm saying.
Right. But I mean, things should be tested in court. I agree.
Yeah.
But justice too can, you know, sometimes people don't trust the court system.
Well, I will tell you this. No matter how flawed the court system is, you have to give it a shot. Let me tell you why. Dylan just won an election in the CDC stronghold. I'm sure you didn't expect that. Dylan won an election in Monserrate County.
Yeah, I was expecting that.
Okay, that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah,
so
I predicted that.
You cannot, you would not say, well, this thing won't work for me. Give it a shot. Because let me tell you this, the COP will be doing two things. They will be stamping their authority in terms of their adherence to rule of law. Because I will say this and I will continue to remind you, if the COP is successful in removing George Weah, one of my expectations and your expectations would be that they will govern Liberia in the confines of law. And that's what I'm saying. So if you don't believe the law and you want to disregard the law, how will you manage the state? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, you have a point, except that there can be bad laws. So you can disregard when the laws are bad, you can disregard. But you are saying, hey, when you think they are bad, go to court and test it on a court. That's fair.
Yeah, you test the system.
That's the system. I was interested in your opinion on this, but you're not willing to give that.
No, my opinion is, you see, because I mean, it just if you take me now to go and work in a hospital, I will kill the patient because I'm not competent to be a surgeon. So this letter came from someone that is clothed with the authority and is legal minded. Chances are, I submit to you, he could be wrong. And that's why I don't know, that's what this guy say, the other guy say, oh, this guy's contradicting, because I'm being fair. The justice minister could be wrong. Yeah. But that can be proven in the court of law.
Thank you. Let me go back to the line. Call out your name and where you calling from. Okay, call on 502 area code, your name and where you calling from. Oops, sorry. Caller will be 502 area code, your name and where you calling from. Hello, caller. 502 area code. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. (346) area code. Go ahead. I don't know.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Martin Dennis.
Go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
No, I'm calling on a show.
I don't know. I think he keep making mistakes on the line. He keep making a lot of mistakes. I don't know. He had me on muted for ever so long, and now he connected me to you. So it's like I'm not even that.
Yeah, I just texted.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I text myself, but then he keep making the same mistakes. I don't know why he keep connecting two lines together instead of putting on the show.
Go ahead. You are on the show. You are live.
After keeping me on mute for a very long time, now he's connecting to somebody else.
Go ahead. You are live.
I'm not even.
Go ahead. You are live. Go ahead. Hello. Okay. I don't know, but why is not hearing me? Go ahead, caller. You are live. 346-77.
I cannot be on the show. I cannot hear you. You can hear me, but I cannot hear you. So how possible is that? I can't be on the show. I can't hear you. You know, I put my device on. I can hear you from my device. I can't hear you from the phone.
You can hear
me from the phone now?
All right, Ben. We are almost at a point to conclude this thing, but there are no LD in the banks. There are reports of no LD in the banks. There are reports that Peace Corps in the interior, they are having trouble getting money from the bank, so they are reducing their staffs. There's a report that our civil servants are thinking about or threatening go slow It's really tough in Liberia. And this condition,
I will tell you this.
Yeah, this condition may get people angry that they may join protest.
I will tell you this. If anybody tells you that the economic conditions in Liberia, they are ideal, that person will be wrong. But let me say this. You see, one of the things, that's why I wish the other guest was here. One of the things as we are discussing this thing, we have to know there's something called root cause analysis.
Yeah.
And that's why nobody looking at is that when you go to the hospital, my good brother, the first thing the doctor will ask you, so, oh, you see, I have pain in my neck. The doctor will say, how long has that pain been there? Because what happened is some of these things, especially so economic meltdown, they don't just happen like that. You see, a lot of people, some people don't have a basic understanding of economics. They don't have the basic understanding. And let me tell you one of the major causes of what is going on in Liberia right now. The unmailed.
Hello?
Okay, hold on, Ben. Hold on, Ben.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Dennis, can you hear me? I can't even hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yes, I can hear you.
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, you see, there are some things that take a while to come to the surface. I would submit to you the government needs to do more. I will submit to you. But you know, to totally blame one party for what's happening on Liberia would be totally unfair. And let me just tell you one thing, my brother. Even here, I will give you two things. I mean, in one, so your guests should kind of ponder on. There's something called the economics of fear. That is how fear negatively impact the economy. You know, this constant, you know, protest here, protest there, protest there, protest there. My brother, let's be honest, me and you here. Who will want to go and invest in Liberia if there's this kind of overriding sense of instability? Who wants to do that? Who want to do that? But you see, the same people who are saying there's no job, the things are hard, they are to a large extent contributing to that condition. They're contributing because there is this constant sense of insecurity. You just talk about the case from the States. Obviously, those people will understand. They don't like to put their people in harm's way. The Peace Corps will pull out if there's this overriding sense of insecurity. They will pull out. You see, so the opposition don't understand how much they are contributing to this. They should understand that to engage a government, there should be something called constructive engagement. We disagree, but we disagree responsibly. We take advantage of the court system. But this constant, wars, fears, demonstration, it will help nobody.
You know
that's why you see I've been emphasizing here since I got on this show that if the COP disagrees with anything, they should seek redress in the courts.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. We got you loud and clear, and we apologize to our guests. For some reason, we are hearing them, but they can't hear me, and I don't know what's going on, but that's fine. Let me just read a few comments, and then you will give your final thoughts, and we can close this thing. Adama Phillips said, Mr. Dennis, with all due respect to your guest, but he's not saying anything that makes sense here. I wouldn't say that, but that's what he said.
Tell him I also respect his comment. I appreciate him.
He said you don't need a permit to protest. That's Adama Phillips. You can only write to ask for security.
Yeah, but how many times did we talk about that here? That's why I said the last line of the letter said, if the COP goes in the street, anything happens, they will be held responsible. That's what we talked about that. So maybe the guest was not paying attention, but I do respect his comments and I respect him as an individual.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Finn, it's good to have you. I want us to conclude on this one to say, well, there is a protest plan December 30th, 2019, calling for President Weah to step down because of various reasons. They have outlined during the June 7th protest, they said they gave the president a list of things, a bucket list of things to do. The president has not done them. And so they are going in the street calling for the president to step down. Even though step down is not in the letter that was sent, but all on the social media we've heard that December 30th, the president should step down. Enough is enough. There is also a counter protest, or I may call it that way, December 13th, that say, hey, when you protest, that's going to lead to war, and they give. So I want you to conclude on those things, that whether you support the protest or not, and why, as we conclude.
Well, first I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I want to thank all of your guests. Just as I mentioned from the onset of this thing, it's kind of good for us to have this civil interaction. You know, we can disagree, but in a respectable atmosphere. So with the protests and counter protests, I would urge all parties, every party involved, everyone with vested interest, you know, to reach what I would call amicable solutions. If they cannot do that, let them take advantage of the court system. Because we are a democracy. I want people to take advantage of the law. I will say this for one last time, because if the COP is successful in removing George Weah, it would be in their interest if Liberia is managed under a system of law. So no matter what is going on now, let's restrain our emotions, let's be reasonable, and let's do the things that are right, because I will emphasize this. The peace in Liberia is fragile, it's very fragile. We only need a spark for that country to go down the drain. So let everybody act in a mature way. Let the COPC look at ways in which they can adjust their strategies so we can go forward. Because I will lastly say, the COP has protested before, so it's not something that you're being banned and they don't allow you to do anything. Let's see how we can all reach agreement so that we can live in peace. Liberia is all we have. Thank you, sir, and thank you to your audience. I appreciate it.
Right. While you were talking, somebody said, see who talking? What they are trying to make reference to is what the CDC did during the regime of President Sirleaf. So I think that's what they are saying. Say, see who talking about. That was just in my ear. Nobody said it. But I want to thank you so much for coming. Here at Focus on Liberia, we try to do that. We respect the views from a cross section of our people. So no matter where it comes from, we welcome you always, so that we can have a civil debate. It's always better to talk than to fight. You know?
Yeah, but last thing I want to say, I mean, I wish our friend would come back. You know, I'm sad that he wasn't here, because, you know, like in this kind of interactions, I want to get the other side.
Yeah.
So I really wish he was here.
I give you the other side.
No, I mean, you give your views, but I wish he was here.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, we hope to, and it happens sometimes in this business. We call the people are very much active on the social media to debate these issues, but when there's one-on-one debate or come on the show and say something, sometimes they don't turn out. So it happens, and we are talking about Mr. Fyneah N. Massacre. He says he's the secretary of the youth wing for COP. He was supposed to be here tonight to defend the protest, but unfortunately. But in spite of that, we had a good time. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate all of you, including our callers. Tomorrow, there is a EULA conference. There is an All Liberian Diaspora Conference that will be held in Washington, D.C. We're going to be covering it live from D.C. So keep tuned here. We're going to be coming right here. And also it's time for our economic forum. And guess what? This Sunday, we're going to be having the man GGG. We're going to be interviewing the giant German Gina. That's Michael Jensen. He's going to be here. That's the Liberian comedian. He's going to be here for an interview. Until then, on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, we want to say thank you so much for your time. All our viewers, we want to say good night and may God richly bless you. Until, my name is Dennis Jar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
A blessed weekend.